Welcome back to our special election coverage here at CBNnews.com. I'm Mark Martin. Republicans have held on to a key seat in Kansas, fending off a tough challenge. Incumbent Republican Pat Roberts faced a bruising challenge from a Tea Party candidate in the primary, and Democrats had tried to help an independent candidate to pick off Roberts, but he held on to the seat in the end. Republicans also held on to a Senate seat that Democrats hoped to take from them in Georgia. David Perdue beat Democrat Michelle Nunn, winning more than 50% of the vote and preventing a runoff election. Those two Republican holds came after they took away at least 5 seats from Democrats in Colorado, South Dakota, Montana, West Virginia, and Arkansas. They need a total of 6 takeaways to win the Senate. And we have our senior editor and political analyst, John Waggy, here in the CBN News studios. Welcome back once again, John.
Thank you, sir.
Well, it has been a big night for the Republican Party. We just recapped their Senate wins so far. You predicted many of them. We need to mention that. What are the key races that are still outstanding in the Senate?
Well, they have to get that one more seat, Mark. And so that one seat is either going to come from Louisiana, Iowa, a razor-thin vote in Virginia, which no one expected. Probably not New Hampshire anymore, but North Carolina is still very much in play. The Republican leads with well over 90% of the vote counted. And then we still have the polls yet to close in Alaska. And so there is one more challenge there. So one of those seats has to come through for Republicans, and they take control of the Senate. So it's...
It sure is.
It's tantalizingly close, but it's not there yet.
Now, I heard that Mary Landrieu is exceptionally vulnerable if it does go to a runoff. Is that the case?
Yes, it is. She's polling about 2 points above Bill Cassidy, the Republican, right now. So it looks pretty certain that neither candidate's going to win tonight, which means a December 6th runoff. And the other candidate in the race, Rob Maness, another Republican conservative, will presumably throw his support to Bill Cassidy, the Republican, which means that Mary Landrieu would be fighting uphill for that seat later on in December.
Okay, all right. Well, talk about the Scott Walker win in Wisconsin. I mean, a man of incredible courage and fortitude. The unions have tried to take him down for years. What's the takeaway message here?
Well, I think that it's really a pretty big deal that and may have long-term ramifications for union support all across the country, because they have gone after this man like no candidate that I can remember in my political career covering politics, and personal threats against the family, huge sums of money, all those kinds of things, because Walker went after the donations to unions, wanting to make it voluntary and that sort of thing. And so other governors may imitate him, and especially since Republicans have made strong showings in state houses around the country, it could make a permanent sort of change in the landscape.
Let's talk a little bit more about those other surprising governor results in liberal-leaning states like Michigan, New Mexico. What's going on?
Well, those in both those cases, those were Republican incumbents in blue states who held on and actually won fairly comfortably. I know in the case of New Mexico, I haven't seen the final numbers on Michigan, but Rick Snyder's win in Michigan is a pretty significant thing because Democrats consider that to be their territory. And, he was called on the carpet by Democrats for basically kind of putting Detroit under kind of a management zone with their bankruptcy and everything. And a lot of Democrats didn't like that. But he won statewide on a night when the Democrat Senate candidate won an easy victory. So, Rick Snyder winning in Michigan is another one of those significant big state holds for Republicans.
All right, John. Thanks for your insights.
Sure.
Well, Heather Sells joins us now with an update on the Hispanic vote. Welcome, Heather. Now, the 2 big questions about Hispanics, talk about that for us. Where are things right now?
Well, the big concerns always are Hispanics going to turn out to vote? Because traditionally they lag behind other racial groups. And so that's always a concern, is what's going to happen. And then what are the issues that's important to them? And right now at this point in time, there's an election eve poll showing that immigration reform and the economy are the top 2 issues for Hispanics. I will tell you that anecdotally, I've talked with Hispanics around the country, and they usually don't say immigration reform. They usually talk about jobs and economy as what is really important to them.
Well, in the 2012 presidential election, so much was made about the Hispanic vote and how they did not vote for Romney. They gravitated toward Obama. What's the turnout in this midterm election?
Right now, it looks like Colorado, they did turn out in Colorado better than they did in 2010. We don't have a lot of numbers right now. What I am hearing from a lot of Hispanics, again, is a feeling of burnout, disenchantment with both parties. So I don't have my hopes up right now that we're going to see really good turnouts for them. But, who knows? The numbers are still coming in.
And I understand there's also concern about Republicans winning both houses of Congress.
Right. There's a thinking that goes like this, and it's been in several editorials, including the Miami Herald. But there's a concern that if Republicans really strengthen their hold in the House, if they take the Senate, that there's going to be kind of an anti-immigration sentiment that's going to go forward. And there's a concern that if the president then passes some kind of executive action on immigration, that really Hispanics are going to feel alienated from Republicans, more inclined to vote Democratic, and that's going to just propel the Democrats into the White House in the next election.
In a story we both covered on fracking in Texas, I understand you have results on the vote on fracking.
Right now, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram is saying that the ban on fracking has been approved. That's an early result. They don't have all the results in, but it looks like the ban has passed. And if that is the case, that's pretty significant because you have a Texas city standing up to oil and gas interests. Of course, this is going to, continue on in the courts, and, the fight is not over. But if that indeed has happened, if a ban on fracking has taken place in Texas, that's going to be something that's going to catch a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, it could have some far-reaching implications. Fracking has been key as far as our energy independence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Heather. We'll stay with CBN News all night for updates right here on our news channel. We'll be live at 15 minutes after the hour and at 15 minutes before. Or you can watch us on demand anytime. And be sure to follow us on Facebook or Twitter at hashtag CBN Election 2014. We're everywhere. Go to our special election page for our reporters' live Twitter feed. And we're going to be back at 1:45 with the latest on some of these races. Still down to the wire. Stay with us online for continuous updates.